Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is another LinkedIn Live. It's the first one we've done for this year. So the very first LinkedIn Live of 2026 for XR for Europe and for XR for Human, which is the Horizon Europe project, the coordination and support action that recently concluded. But it didn't, of course, really conclude because Horizon projects never really conclude. That's their ending is just the beginning. So we are joined today with Faisal Mushtaq and Robert Schreer, both key leaders, work package leaders, and I think we'll be joined very shortly by other leaders within XR for Human. We're going to be talking today about how the outputs, and there are many, the outputs of XR for Human can benefit and support future Horizon Europe projects, and particularly at the stage of writing the proposals now, since the open calls for the 2026 work program are out right now. A lot of people are working on their proposals, but of course, how do you embody ethics, value-centric design, interoperability, accessibility? A lot of these elements are really core aspects of a project, core aspects of a proposal, and how it's evaluated. But of course, a lot of projects approach this sometimes from the beginning, from a very, very early stage. And one of the benefits that XR for Human offers is that it was a project that ultimately created a lot of resources, a lot of actionable tools to make that easier for other projects to raise the foundation and the floor for where they start, so that the rest of the work is advanced and is aligned with a common set of ethical and human-centered standards. So I'm going to very quickly go through a brief presentation of what the project has produced, and then we're going to have a discussion. And before I do that, I'd like to go and welcome to the stage another one of our leaders in the project, one of the co-coordinators. Her name is Rigmor Barash. Welcome, Rigmor. You're here with us. Yes. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen and go through this very quickly. I want to say that in the comments for this event, what you will see is a link to an article. So what we're talking about today is building on this article. We wrote an article that even includes some simple template text even for different sections of a proposal, a Horizon Europe specifically, but it doesn't have to just be Horizon Europe. This could be Digital Europe, Creative Europe, your own projects. Of course, it doesn't have to be EU-funded projects. So that text is there for you just to have a concrete, tangible example that you can see how it can be further enhanced, adapted, integrated into your text. So check out the article, but let me go ahead and start with this quick presentation. So XR for Human was a 3-year coordination and support action within Horizon Europe. It just concluded a few months ago, late last year, with the final event and several, deliverables published, in addition to several being published throughout it. So it was specifically focusing on the addressing of ethics and governance and interoperability. And there were a lot of different activities that supported building to those deliverables. And even those actions that were maybe more support actions, which we'll look at, also created tangible resources that we'll briefly highlight in a moment. But the idea then, the objective was to make sure that all future projects, EU projects, but also industrial projects, creative projects, social projects that are working with XR and immersive virtual worlds have a common foundation on which to build, common foundation of ethics and design. So, when evaluators are looking at your proposal, and, if you're experienced with this, this is old news for you, but for a lot of people who are coming to proposals maybe for the first time, or who have not historically been writing very much of the proposals, they're looking always for very concrete, clear, measurable, identifiable, recognizable actions and activities, not generic statements. So, with ethics for a lot of proposals, I can say from my experience, you see that it gets a little difficult. Is for a lot of partners and writers, these are abstract concepts, and that bringing them into something that's very effective in a proposal can be a challenge. So what XR for Human created was several, we call them, I call them, I call them core outputs. These are deliverables. So we have this European XR Code of Conduct, and this is kind of this is the core element. Everything else kind of derives from or is directly supporting this Code of Conduct, we'll take a look at in a second. But that code of conduct was turned into 2 actionable tools, ready-made, plug-and-play type of tools. You don't have to take them as they are. You can adapt them, but these are ready to act on and ready to implement. We also have the experience library, which is a showcase platform of ethical design in practice. We have a rating repository that brings all of these together in a very quick and easy place to find. We also have these support actions that I mentioned, like a regulatory gap analysis that was produced that looks at 25 different acts across the EU and assesses their impact and the consequence for immersive virtual worlds. And then we also have documents supporting interoperability, guidance types of documents. So quite a lot here. So very quickly, this XR Code of Conduct, this is available right now. If you go to XR4HUMAN.eu, the most recent version of this living, organically evolving document is accessible there. So it has at the start several principles, then it has specific articles. It's trying to find that that balance between enough detail without becoming excessively long, something that's digestible. But for proposals, this is something that you can review very quickly. Very quickly can review it, can embody it, and recognize its tangible article suggestions and advice in your proposal. You can reference that you have, your proposal conforms to the code. But of course, more than that, the work that's done inside your project, things like demos and proof of concepts and prototypes and other actions, can also be explained to have embedded this, to reference it, and to follow it during the course of its actions. I mentioned before that there are these 2 tools, and of course there can be many tools, and all of us here would be very happy to work with you to develop more tools. But these 2 specific tools, an ethical impact assessment and a compliance checklist, are derived from the code of conduct and are things that are, again, they can simply be put into practice as steps and part of a workflow, either for design or for deployment or design or development of immersive experiences. So these are things that can be referenced in a proposal that will be used when the work takes place, gets started on these specific types of actions: design, deployment, and development. That's what these are designed for. We also have this experience library I mentioned before. So it's an online repository at the moment of non-commercial XR experiences. But the main point of this is a showcase of best practice in design, ethical and human-centered design. So there's quite a few there. This can be used by proposals as a target objective, where their demos, where their prototypes and proof of concepts are going to go, even with some of the commercially exploited outputs of projects can ultimately go here when the time is right. So this is there for them as well. I mentioned that the ratings repository is also on XR4HUMAN.eu. You'll see the link here. And this is where all of this is brought together in a very quick way to find, very easy way to find them all. And this is continuing to be improved and evolved over time. I mentioned the supporting actions here, and you have the link here on Zenodo. If you go to zenodo.org and you look for XR4HUMAN, you'll see all of the published outputs. But I want to highlight this regulatory gap analysis document, which again is just a great resource that a proposal and a project can be referencing and acknowledge and share internally that they are referencing the insights that it provides about all these different EU acts, regulatory acts. We also have documents in that same Zenodo repository around interoperability guidance, particularly things like created by OpenAR Cloud. That was one of the partners in the project, talking about, again, the layers of the spatial web, other things. So resources that can be informing the writing. But of course, when you're saying how you arrived at your plans and conclusions, you can explain that you did so through consultation with the work produced by the XR4HUMAN project. We also have the ethics forum. This is something that XR4Europe is managing going forward as well. This is basically it's a discussion forum. It takes several different forms. It has a spatial arrival.space format of this, but also a message board. And this is where a lot of debates and a lot of discussions can be held around ethics, and other proposals, other projects that are funded can actually host designated conversations and discussion threads and chats and events inside a forum that is dedicated to ethics discussion. So a proposal of another project doesn't have to recreate that. They can simply take space within an existing forum for ethics and design debates. So that's just to say it doesn't have to be for Horizon Europe even, though. So some people in the audience might be creating proposals and pursuing opportunities in Digital Europe or Creative Europe. And XR for Humans outputs can be applied in all of these types of programs. And again, as well as national programs. So it's there's a lot here for people who are planning future actions to work with. So I would like to stop there because that took a little bit of time, of course. But now I would like to open a discussion, and as well as take comments from the audience. If you want to comment on LinkedIn, you can do so, and we will see them here in the in our discussion, and we will respond to them as best we can. I'd like to open it up to everyone here, but maybe Rigmor first as co-coordinator. If I can just kind of ask you, what are you hoping to see either in this period of calls or the next? What are you hoping to see XR for Humans impact is in these coming proposals and projects?
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the question. Well, I would actually hope that every single EU proposal on XR technologies, that they actually utilize the tools that we have provided in XR for Human, the tools that are meaningful to the project. Of course, the ethics, the code of conduct is always meaningful. This is something the EU asked for, irrespective of what the call is. Yeah, so I think that what we have provided in this project should be useful to all of those who are working on proposals for calls, upcoming calls.
And then maybe I'll just share it as well with both of you, Faisal and Oliver. What are you hoping to see in terms of impact or representation in future projects?
Mm-hmm. I guess from quite a selfish perspective, we want to see the experience library being used. So this is the sort of effort within XR for Human that Oliver and I had the pleasure of leading. I think there's something here. So Michael, you really give an excellent overview of the sort of benefits of this. And I think it's important we just emphasize that this sort of EU has already invested in this sort of project, invested a significant amount of money in this, and what any funder likes to do is to see that the investments that it's made in the past are sort of being built upon and sort of add additional sort of value. So for people out there thinking about, well, how can this benefit me? Perhaps it's not, maybe inclusivity and ethics are not sort of core to my sort of proposal. So really sort of easy wins here. We spent a lot of time as a sort of collective thinking about these issues and generating these sort of resources. And so you have some really concrete sort of ideas, suggestions that you can just incorporate into your project relatively sort of easily and show that you're adding sort of substantial value to sort of the EU sort of portfolio of funded projects as well. And I think within that, the experience library is a really easy win. So at some point in the project that you're hopefully funded on, you'll need to demonstrate that you have outputs. And those outputs may take the form of XR-related sort of resources, sort of apps or sort of tools, and the experience library is really a sort of almost a no-brainer in my perspective for you to sort of add that on. It doesn't preclude you publishing it elsewhere, but it's there. It's an EU-funded sort of a platform, and so in terms of the time commitment for actually submitting that as well, it's minutes to sort of submit that sort of proposal and have that sort of showcased on there. So adds a few extra sentences to your proposal, and I think adds a lot of value for the EU and its funding approach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If I may add, so what we also offer, and which is certainly helpful for already at the proposal stage, we offer questionnaires. Yeah, so the post experience survey questionnaire was mentioned. So this is a hands-on questionnaire with a bunch of questions if you want to evaluate your XR experience. And so this can be used as is, but it can be modified, extended. Yeah. The set of questions we developed are based on a thorough study of a variety of different questionnaires, and we identified the most common and relevant ones. So this is a very nice tool. And yeah, and also these the experience library itself can be used as a platform. Yeah, projects do not need to develop their own platform to publish and advertise their results. They can immediately refer to the experience library. And the other elements, the ethical impact assessment and so on, is very helpful to guide you through proposal writing, and to refer also to these documents and demonstrate that your project has seriously takes ethical aspects into account, which is more and more relevant in future proposals.
If I can answer my own question too, something that I'm keen to see is how people change these documents, or these outputs, how they adapt them. At the stage of proposal, probably it's the idea is to keep it as it is, because there's not a lot of time to draft a proposal, and it needs to be pretty mature and concise what you're talking about. But during the course of a proposal, I think we recognized already in the project that for some of these outputs, they are intended to be applied to as many use cases or application areas as possible. But as a consequence, of course, there are some applications that are going to be so specific what people are considering and looking for, that there might be gaps. And so this is also something that this is not, I think, a monolithic output. The XR4HUMAN is not static in that way. And each of these projects, if they're funded and they're engaging with these, they actually have a contribution to make to this continued evolution of it. And there's a continued return on that investment for the commission, which Faisal, as you were talking, I think that's, it's something that is often, I think, just maybe sometimes hard to incorporate into a completely new proposal concept, how much you're really going to leverage and contribute back to previous investments and that the commission has made. But they really value that you take that effort to do so.
Yeah, Michael, I just want to add here. So you pointed out that the code of conduct is a living document. And so imagine if you're putting in a proposal now, and when you complete the project, perhaps in sort of 4 years' time, actually the state of XR is going to maybe, hopefully, perhaps, I think, sort of look quite different. And hopefully when you're coming to the end of this, your project, you'll be able to sort of help revise and sort of update that sort of code of conduct through your sort of findings in your project. So it's not just a sort of passive, here, I'll just take and lift this. Hopefully you'll be able to also help shape it along the term as well.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking that the tools we have made hopefully also help people when they are in the proposal stage to reflect over the different issues. And then maybe even some of the, so you mentioned very special use cases, for example. And in very special use cases, maybe, the ethics can be kind of narrowed down because it's very specific situation that is going to be used for. And I think that, or I'm hoping that the tools we have made will then help them in discussing and reflecting over this, and maybe framing what they are doing differently. And then already in the proposal, and then of course as an output or part of the or during the project, if they get financed, give feedback to how do we make improvements for more specialist cases. Should there be some other tools when you have a very specific use case versus a very general one? Because of course now we have tried to cover everything because that was kind of our task. But that most certainly will be stages of improvements as we go forward to make it even more useful.
And Rima, I think it's great that you restated what I didn't say before, which was that it's very much an exercise in reflection, a lot of these, because this is not, I want to make clear to the audience who may have different expectations of what a code of conduct is if they haven't already looked at it. This is not a rule book. This is a suggestion, sometimes, very strong suggestions, well supported what the suggestion is, but this is meant to guide, in decision makers, designers, deployers, developers. They have different roles, different tasks, but they're all making decisions that impact the way other people will engage with this, or how they are going to be engaging with these experiences. So many of these documents are really there to start at least an internal thought process, an internal assessment, which in the course of a consortium effort is it's an internal discussion. But certainly, yeah, it's not something that you have to accept. If you can disagree with elements, but why? Why do you disagree? There's a clear reason. You'll go through that process because you'll have something concrete to start that, something concrete that you disagree with in one case, but you agree with in other cases. I think that's a great value that it offers.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking that, to what degree is what we are going to design or develop or deploy here, to what degree does it affect? Who does it affect? And by reading the document, just reading the code of conduct, maybe just help you in thinking about that. So yeah, I think this is really important. This is not a law, it's not rules. They are guiding documents meant for reflective processes, and also maybe that there are things, if you come from one angle, you might not think about all these things because you're not used to it. But now it's here, you can look at it, you can reflect over it, and consider what is it that we are trying to do, and bring everything in.
Yeah, and maybe just one additional thought that I had as we were talking, a thought that's eluding me now that I've highlighted that I had it, but it's to say that when a project ends, and particularly in this case, we're encouraging people to engage, to incorporate, and contribute to the evolution of these documents. The question is to whom? Who is it that they're going to talk to? Is just sitting in a repository and then they take it? But XR4HUMAN is a project that actually has a concrete multi-year sustainability plan that now is in early stages. It's already in effect. And so for any proposals that have questions, even right now, have questions about how they will perhaps utilize this and what would be the most appropriate way, and who may serve on an advisory board to help contribute to the project, to utilize these effectively over time. The four of us here, and of course others that were involved in the project, are available, I think, for these types of engagements. XR for Europe is leading the sustainability plan over these next several years, so we're a concrete contact point, for those to engage with if they want to ask how, or they simply want to contribute to. Again, they want to suggest changes and evolutions over time. So this is not, we're saying we did it, here it is, we really hope you benefit from it, and good luck with it. This is, we're all committed for many years to making sure that those who take on this effort to embed it in their projects receive support and continued guidance and collaboration. So maybe I'll just open it up to any last thoughts, because I think we covered a lot of practical, expectations we have for how projects will use it. Maybe one last round of thoughts, and then we'll just then wait to see how people use it.
If I may add, I think, there were several institutions, universities involved in XR4HUMAN, but also XR4Europe was involved. Yeah, and I think the contribution or the participation of XR4Europe now brought to XR4Europe a very important, up-to-date and relevant element, which is ethics. Yeah. So with this, also due to this, the obligation that we have to continue and make the results sustainable from XR4HUMAN, we have with XR4Europe now the best possible partner and institution, organization that can benefit from these results and further continue with this work. Yeah. So therefore, XR4Europe has now really a strong ethical expertise and capacity due to this, and we will make also contents available and continue with discussions in this area and organized by XR4Europe. So this is really a benefit for this non-for-profit organization.
Yeah, maybe just on that. Yeah, we plan to have at least semi-annual review sessions to kind of collect and integrate all of these, these feedbacks that we're getting as we're supporting engagement. We have several universities that are looking to engage code and some of these tools inside of their curriculum. But to that point, by the time we have this review session, it'll be after the proposal. So we're submitted. So if you are developing a proposal and you do incorporate it and you have some feedback from that process, you've gone through this internal assessment and integration, you've engaged with it, and you have some suggestions for how to take it forward, that would then be ideal experience for us to react to and respond to in that first semi-annual review session, which will take place, in probably just before summer. So actually that does align very well, Oliver. Thank you for highlighting that. We already, after the proposals, that already is an opportunity to iterate and to improve it for future proposals and projects and adoption. Yeah. Well then, if any last thoughts? If not, then I would like to thank everybody. Faisal, did you have?
I was just going to say, let's to continue watching this space. Of course, you've mentioned the sort of iteration as these things will develop. We have the deliverables for the project, but we also will have sort of further outputs coming through the peer review process, which, as many of you will know, can take several months to even years. So we'll continue to produce XR4HUMAN related sort of guidance and sort of manuscripts, etc. For this. So we'll certainly keep you updated via XR4Europe.
Thank you. All right, then thank you everyone, Rigmor, Oliver, Faisal. It was a pleasure to have you and to, again, hopefully help and support the many people we don't know who are going to be working very hard over the next couple months to submit and finalize and submit their proposal. So wishing everyone who's in that process great success and luck, and definitely reach out to any of us if you would like support to better and more accurately and more concretely represent the engagement with XR4HUMAN outputs in your proposals. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, and best of luck with all the work. Bye-bye.